Hi, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Amy Robbins, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and medium. And here we discuss life, death, consciousness, and what it all means. Tammy is a listener who reached out to me to tell her story. She is a store manager at a T-Mobile. Tammy lost her grandfather when she was just 4 years old, and her mom when she was 8. Tammy knew that her mom had passed even before anyone told her, and this was just the beginning of a lifetime of premonitions where Tammy would experience people's deaths before they happened. Here's Tammy to tell her story.
My mom, when I was 8 years old, she died from a blood clot that hit her lung. She had a bruise and it hit her lung and she passed away suddenly. I was having mystery pains, and back in 1978, they didn't have the tools and stuff to figure those things out at that time. So she was in and out of doctors, and at this point she was in a hospital. And this one day, my dad took me and my brother and sister to my aunt's house, and they said, "We're going to go see your mom." And I said, "Okay." And I was really into books and was just kind of by myself. And I went into my aunt's room and I was sitting on her bed, and had a book in my hand, and this presence, I would say, just came to me and said, "Your mom has passed over." And I was like, okay, it was just this, and it was like a sound. It was like I heard it, like I see things and I hear them. And so I was like, okay. And so then probably an hour later, maybe, I don't know the time, I was a child, so I was 8, and my dad and my grandmother come and they sit us down in the living room and they say, "Your mom has died." And I just looked at them and I said, "I know." And they're just dumbfounded, and they didn't question me, but I just knew from this voice, I would say, that came to me and said, "Your mom has passed."
Tammy's dad remarried quickly after his mom passed away, and she remembers being just 9 years old when she first experienced a visit from her mother.
I was sitting outside, just on the ground, playing in some dirt at my stepmom's parents' house in the backyard, and this just presence came over me and was she was asking me, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm okay." And I cried for my mom for years. I would cry myself to sleep just missing her.
Tammy found a lot of comfort in this visit. Tammy was also extremely close with her grandmother, who basically raised her once her mother died. And after her grandmother's passing, she had another premonition about a gift being delivered in the mail from her grandmother, even though her grandmother had already passed away.
I had a dream, and in my dream, she sent me a care package. And she always used to send me a care package. It would be my favorite cookies or whatever, and $10. It was really sweet. And in my dream, she sent me a care package. And within a few days, I get this package from my friend Trish. And she says, and it is a necklace. And she said, "This was your grandmother's. You gave it to me a while, and I thought you would want it back." And I was just blown away. I was like,
right. Tammy's premonitions didn't stop there. It was as if once she opened herself up to premonitions, they just kept coming.
When my uncle passed, it was probably, I was around 30 years old, and I'm 48 now. I was getting these premonitions, and in these premonitions, in them, I saw an older man. I could see just the back of his head and gray hair, and he's driving a pickup truck, and he's driving down this country road, and he veers into the grass and has a heart attack. And I thought it was my dad because I could see the back of him. And I'm calling my dad to warn him. I'm like, "Have you gone to the doctor? Have you gotten checked out?" And I'm driving him nuts this one weekend over this. And I'd gone to church, and I don't usually go to church, but I'd gone with my cousins, and the pastor was talking about a spiritual heart attack. And I had to leave and call my dad again and check on him because had this sense of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, I'm okay, Tim, I'm okay. And so I go to work Monday morning, and I just got into work, probably 10 minutes, and I get a call from my dad. And he says, your Uncle Freddie has passed. He veered off the road and had a heart attack. And I mean, if you saw the back of their heads, you couldn't tell the difference because of their gray hair.
Tammy was relieved it wasn't her father who had passed away. But just 7 years ago, she had another premonition that came true.
A month before he passed, I got the same. I had a dream. I was super busy at work, and I kind of just blew it off. Normally, I would have called him and said, hey. And I had written it in my journal. I usually keep a dream journal. And I didn't remember it until I went back after he passed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I got this notification, beforehand. And I've struggled with like, why am I getting these notifications about death? Like it just seems so like intense sometimes. And
what was that one? The one that you just described?
It was a dream.
But what happened in it?
In my dream, he had a heart attack and passed away. I don't remember, like I'll have to go back and look at that journal entry to see if I wrote down the exact things, because he died from a heart attack. He was power washing a driveway. He was retired, and that was his side business.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed away from a heart attack, like a sudden heart attack at that point.
Tammy started paying more and more attention anytime she had a pull to tell someone about something that might be a premonition.
We were sitting at a patio restaurant, and it was like in front of a Central Market, which is like a grocery store. And we're sitting there, and these two gentlemen at this other table, we kind of start talking to them, and it was a sunny day, and they were like, oh, let's move into this awning. And we sat down, and I had one beer at that point, and we sat down, and I looked at the man across from me, and I didn't know them. I never met them. And I looked at him, and it was like, I can't even describe, like, it just came out of me, like, and I say like vomit out of my mouth. It was just projectile. I just looked at him and I said, you don't have very long to live. I don't know why you're here. You need to go be with your family. Like, you need to go be with your family. And he gets up and he starts crying, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I'm sorry. And my boyfriend at the time, he was freaking out too, because we hadn't been together that long, and he's just trying to comfort the man and say, are you okay? It's okay. And he hands him his business card and just says, if you need anything, give me a call. And then they leave. Well, we had gone to California, built a house, was waiting for the house to be built. That's where we were at that point. It was a few months down the road, and we just got to California, like 2 days after we got to California, and he gets a call on his cell phone, and it's that man, and this has been a few months, and the man leaves a message and says, thank your wife, like she saved my life. I got a liver transplant, and I get a lot more time with my girls and my wife. And it was just incredible. And like, that's the only time that it's been like that forceful out of me to see that and say something like that. I had no control over it at that point, that day. Like, it was just incredible.
Tammy's most recent premonition had to do with her son.
And he was 22, and a month before he passed, I woke up to a dream. Like, I was crying, and in my dream, he had taken some pills, and he died. And I went to him. He was living with me at the time. I went to him, and I said, Gabriel, are you using? And he's like, no, Mom. And he would get so frustrated. He would say, you let your intuition get away from you, and this is really frustrating for me. And I said, well, I can't ignore this. I said, I'm going to go get a test. And so I went to CVS, and I got the drug test, the test for everything. And he took it. He was just mad, though, like angry with me, because he had been clean for a few years. And he's like, Mom, I wouldn't do that to you. He had gone through rehab and was doing really well. He was in school at Texas State, studying to be a music education teacher. And I said, well, I have to, and he did the test and it was completely clean. And we hugged and we talked about it. And I said, I trust you. I treat you like an adult. And so we had a good talk about it. And then a month later, I'm in Kauai on vacation with my friend Courtney, and it's a day and a half before I'm going to come home. And he was going to pick me up. He was at the house watching my dog. It was in the evening, and we had just got back from a restaurant, and we were at the bar in the hotel. And I was getting calls from his dad, and I was ignoring them because his dad would over worry, and I would just be like, I'm sure he's fine. And then I got a call from his stepmom, and her and I are really close. And I was like, excuse me. And I stepped out to the lanai, and I don't remember what she said to me. I just remember falling to the ground. And got back to Texas and did his funeral. And the night before his funeral, I woke up, and he was just saying to me, Mom, it was an accident. I'm so sorry. It was an accident. And it was like, he had no intention. He had gone to Abilene and gone to see some friends and took too much, and he hadn't used in a while. And it got him.
Mm-hmm. Since Tammy's son passed away, she has started to open herself up more to connecting with him, and he continues to show up for her in her life, so she knows he is still with her.
Pulled up to this restaurant, and all of a sudden there's like hundreds of butterflies fly out of this bush, and they attack my car. And I say attack, but they're just all over it. And I'm like, oh my God, Alex, all these butterflies are all over my car. I said, it must be Gabriel being here with us in this conversation, as positive affirmation that he's here with us. And then they went, as soon as I said it, they all go back into the bush. And I get out of my car, finish talking to him, I get out of my car and I go over and I'm taking pictures, and I'm like this close, to these butterflies that are in these bushes. It was incredible. So I feel him with me all the time and talk to him. And I've done so much work in the last year, almost year and a half, to move through the grief and take care of myself,
Well, and I think that the grief, I think a lot of people often think that when you have this belief system, it means that you don't feel grief and sadness and pain when you lose someone you love. And you do, because we're human, right? And that's our contract here, is that we agreed to come here to learn these lessons, to experience these things in a human body, to be able to learn and grow from them.
Right.
And sometimes learning and growing is frankly, I think it's always so painful.
Right.
So painful. And that's where real growth happens.
I've lost so many people, my mom and my dad and my grandmother and my grandfather. I have my sister and brother still left, and then an aunt and an uncle in Massachusetts.
Despite all the pain and loss that Tammy has had to endure, she is trying to figure out what she can do and how she can use her precognitions to help others. So thank you, Tammy, for sharing your story with us. And if anybody else has a story they'd like to share, please reach out to me at dramyrobbins@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Amy Robbins, or sign up for my newsletter at www.amyrobbins.com. Thanks so much. Have a great day.